Have you ever found yourself sitting quietly in your living room, sipping a warm cup of tea, thinking, I enjoy this peace more than I ever thought I would? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. There's something deeply comforting about having your own space. The silence, the control over your time, the ability to move at your own pace. For many people over 65, living alone isn't just a situation they found themselves in. It's a choice they're learning to love and even thrive in. Now, I know that society has a lot to say about aging and loneliness. You've probably heard it before, that growing older means you should be surrounded by people, constantly engaged, always keeping busy. And sure, connection is important. But what if I told you that living alone after 65 can actually be one of the smartest, healthiest decisions you'll ever make? You see, living alone doesn't have to mean being lonely. It doesn't have to feel isolating. In fact, for many people, it's the first time they've truly had the freedom to focus on themselves, their needs, and their well-being. And that freedom can lead to something pretty powerful, a healthier, happier life. So today I want to talk with you about exactly why that is. We're going to explore some meaningful reasons why living alone after 65 is not just okay, it's something to embrace, something to be proud of, and maybe something that's quietly giving you more strength than you realize. Let's begin with something we often overlook, the joy and health benefits of independence. When you live alone, you're in charge. You decide when to get up, what to eat, what to do with your day, and how to spend your evenings. It's your routine, your rhythm. And that might seem like a small thing, but it's actually quite profound. Think about it. When was the last time you truly asked yourself what you wanted to do, without adjusting to someone else's schedule or preferences? When you live alone, you return to that space. You stop living in reaction to others and start responding to your own needs. You become more attuned to your body's signals, your hunger, your rest, your energy levels, and you learn to honor them. This kind of self-awareness helps you feel more connected to yourself. It makes daily living more intentional, more balanced. There's a calmness that settles in when you know your day is yours to shape. And that kind of peace, that's good for your blood pressure, your sleep, your mood, your overall health. There's also something to be said about the mental clarity that comes with solitude. Not having the constant noise of a busy household allows your thoughts to breathe. You might find yourself reflecting more, journaling, rediscovering old hobbies you forgot you loved. Many people report that their creativity returns, their focus sharpens, their anxiety lowers. You become more productive in a gentle, quiet way. Maybe you start planting again, or finally read those books you kept putting off. You find yourself moving your body more, taking slow, thoughtful walks, dancing in the kitchen while you cook. You're not being watched or rushed, and when that pressure disappears, so do many of the little daily stressors that used to weigh you down. Of course, independence doesn't mean isolation. In fact, many seniors find that living alone makes their relationships better. Why? Because when you're not constantly around others, you begin to value connection more. Phone calls become more meaningful. Visits are filled with real conversation. You learn to choose your social moments, not just fall into them out of habit. That kind of presence builds deeper bonds, more honest ones. Let's talk about another powerful benefit of living alone after 65. It strengthens your confidence. It reminds you that you're still capable, still resourceful, still strong. Yes, you might do things a bit slower than before, but you're doing them. You're managing your home. You're organizing your meals. You're taking care of the details of daily life, one decision at a time. And with every small task completed, you're sending yourself a quiet message. I've still got it. That builds self-esteem in a way that's gentle but lasting. You begin to trust yourself more. You rely on yourself more. And that kind of inner strength isn't just comforting, it's necessary. Especially in a world that often underestimates older adults. Living alone also gives you the beautiful chance to reconnect with your own identity. For years, many of us defined ourselves by our roles, parent, spouse, caregiver, worker. But now you get to ask the question, who am I? Just as me. Maybe you were always a music lover, or an early riser who enjoys the quiet of morning light. Maybe you've always had a creative streak that got buried under responsibilities. Living alone gives you space to hear yourself again. This can be a deeply spiritual experience. You start noticing what makes you feel good, not just physically, but emotionally. You might start lighting a candle during breakfast, just because it brings you joy, or setting a daily ritual of stretching while the coffee brews. These little acts of self-care aren't indulgent, they're affirming. They're reminders that you matter, that your time and space deserve attention. And let's not forget, living alone allows you to prioritize your health in ways that are fully tailored to you. You eat what works best for your body. You can create an exercise routine that fits your pace. You can rest when you need to rest, without guilt. There's no pressure to perform, to please, to entertain. Just a simple, steady rhythm of self-care, built around your needs. There's a strength in that kind of life, a quiet power. And if you've chosen or found yourself living alone after 65, you might already be discovering it for yourself. Maybe you're sleeping better, breathing easier, feeling calmer. That's no accident. It's your environment working with you, not against you. And yes, there are moments when it feels quiet, maybe even too quiet. But over time, that quiet starts to feel less like an absence and more like a gift. A chance to think clearly, to feel deeply, to appreciate the little things like birdsong in the morning, or the way the sun warms your living room in the afternoon. You're not giving anything up. You're gaining peace, clarity, and a deeper connection to yourself. That's not loneliness. That's presence. That's freedom. Now let's keep going, because there's still more to uncover about why living alone at this stage in life can bring even greater rewards. As you move through your day with a bit more ease, more calm, more control, you start to realize something important. This chapter of life isn't about what you've lost. It's about what you're gaining. And one of the most surprising things many seniors discover when they live alone is just how much their overall well-being improves. Not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Let's talk about emotional well-being for a moment. When you live alone, you learn to become more emotionally self-sufficient. That doesn't mean you don't need anyone. It just means you start to depend less on external validation. You become more comfortable sitting with your own thoughts, your own feelings. You stop running from silence and start listening to what it has to say. For a lot of people, this can be incredibly healing. You start to process old memories, unresolved feelings, and even small regrets that you never made time for in the past. It's not always easy, but it's important. Because with that emotional clarity comes peace. You feel lighter, freer, more at ease with yourself. You might notice that your mood improves just from the simple act of having time to reflect, time to breathe. You can cry if you need to, without feeling embarrassed. You can laugh at something silly on TV without being judged. You can talk out loud to yourself and feel completely okay about it. That kind of emotional freedom is often overlooked, but it's powerful. It helps you reconnect with your inner world in a way that feels safe and honest. Now let's talk about something else that often changes for the better when you live alone: your environment. When the space around you reflects who you are, it becomes a source of comfort and pride. You get to arrange your home the way you like it. Maybe you like soft lighting in the evening or a quiet little reading nook by the window. Maybe you finally put your favorite photos on the walls or fill the house with plants that make the air feel fresh. You don't have to negotiate your style. You don't have to make compromises. This is your space, your rules, and having a home that truly feels like you, that's good for your soul. It lifts your mood, calms your nerves, and even helps with focus and sleep. A cozy, peaceful home can be one of the most nurturing gifts you give yourself. And the beauty of it is, you get to set the pace. If you want to wake up slow, you can. If you want to play your favorite music and dance around the living room while you're making breakfast, go ahead. If you want to take an afternoon nap, nobody's going to tell you otherwise. You're not living on anyone else's clock. You're living in a way that matches your energy, your rhythm. When you start living that way, you begin to notice how much more connected you feel to your body. You catch small health signals more quickly. You sense when you need more rest, or when something's a bit off. And because you're not distracted by the noise and demands of others, you're more likely to follow through on taking care of yourself. Whether that means scheduling that doctor appointment, preparing healthier meals, or just going for that walk around the block you keep saying you'll do. It's a quiet kind of accountability, but it works. You're showing up for yourself, day after day, and that consistency matters more than anything else. When it comes to long-term health, another benefit that often surprises people living alone after 65 is the growth in decision-making confidence. You're the one making the choices now. What to eat, where to go, when to rest, what to spend your time and money on. And every time you make a decision that benefits you, no matter how small, it reinforces a sense of self-trust. It's not about being perfect or always getting it right. It's about the simple act of choosing for you, that builds resilience. It reminds you that you are capable, that you are still in the driver's seat of your own life. Sometimes when people hear that you're living alone at this age, they assume it must be difficult or lonely. But what they often don't understand is how alive you can feel when you're finally living on your own terms. There's no pressure to entertain, no expectations to meet. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. That kind of autonomy allows you to tap into a deeper level of self-care. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't need to constantly be surrounded by people to feel fulfilled. You need meaning. You need purpose. You need a reason to smile in the morning. And sometimes that reason is simply the way the light filters through your kitchen window, or the quiet joy of finishing a crossword puzzle, or the warmth of your favorite blanket as you sip your evening tea. These little moments, when you're living alone, start to matter more. You begin to appreciate the things you used to rush past, the morning bird song, the smell of something baking in the oven, the freedom to choose silence, or fill the room with music. You begin to live more fully, not because you have more noise or more people, but because you have more space to feel your life. And that's a kind of richness that no amount of company can replace. Sure, there will be moments when you miss someone's presence. That's natural. But those moments don't define your experience. What defines it is how you respond. And when you're living alone, you learn to meet those moments with grace. You learn to call a friend, take a walk, do something creative, or simply sit with your feelings until they pass. You become more emotionally agile. There's also a surprising benefit that many people don't talk about: how much more in touch you become with your community when you live alone. You're more likely to chat with the cashier at the store, to strike up a conversation with your neighbor, to say hello to someone on your morning walk. These small interactions add up. They remind you that even though you live alone, you are still part of something bigger. And because your home life is peaceful, you often have more patience and warmth to offer in these interactions. You show up more grounded, more present, and that energy invites connection, without the pressure of constant socializing. The truth is, living alone after 65 doesn't have to be something to fear. It can be something to celebrate. It can be a season of rediscovery, strength, clarity, and purpose. It can be a time when you learn to care for yourself more deeply than ever before, not because you have to, but because you want to, because you deserve it. There is wisdom in solitude, there is healing in quiet, and there is strength in choosing to live life your way, on your terms, with full awareness. And let's keep going. You know, one of the most empowering things about growing older is that you finally understand what matters, and maybe even more importantly, what doesn't. When you're living alone after 65, that clarity shows up in your daily life. You stop rushing. You stop trying to please everyone. You stop carrying the weight of expectations that were never really yours to begin with. And what takes its place is something far more valuable, a life that feels authentic. Now let's talk about freedom. Real freedom. The kind that lets you choose how to spend your time, without anyone else's opinions shaping your decisions. When you live alone, you get to create a schedule that reflects your energy and your interests. Maybe you feel your best in the early morning, so you make your coffee, sit on the porch, and enjoy the stillness of a quiet sunrise. Or maybe you're a night owl who likes to read under a cozy lamp after the world has gone to sleep. That's the beauty of it. You're no longer bound by someone else's routine. You wake up when your body says it's ready. You eat when you're hungry, not when someone else says it's time. You rest when you're tired without guilt. And these little freedoms, they add up to something powerful. They give you a deeper connection to yourself, your real self, the one who was maybe buried under decades of caregiving, compromise, or career pressure. Living alone gives you permission to say yes to yourself more often. And what starts as a quiet decision to stay home, to read that book, to walk when the weather feels just right, eventually becomes a lifestyle of peace, presence, and personal fulfillment. And here's something a lot of people don't realize. Living alone also helps you build resilience. Because when you're responsible for your space, your meals, your routine, it naturally pushes you to stay engaged. You keep your mind active, you solve problems, you stay alert and adaptable. Whether it's fixing a small issue around the house or figuring out a new way to manage your health, you're staying mentally sharp just by doing the daily things. You might not even notice it, but those moments when you figure something out on your own, when you handle a task that someone else used to do for you, those are victories. Quiet ones maybe, but real victories all the same. And every time you prove to yourself that you're capable, you reinforce a sense of personal power. That's not something that fades with age. In fact, it grows if you let it. Now let's take a moment to talk about legacy. Because once you reach a certain age, you start thinking about the kind of life you want to leave behind. Not just in terms of family or finances, but in how you lived. Were you happy? Did you follow your heart? Did you create a life that made you proud? Living alone can actually help you do that. It gives you the space to reflect, to focus, and to act with more intention. You start writing your story on your own terms. You spend your time doing what fills you up instead of what drains you. You begin to ask, what do I want to be remembered for? And then you live accordingly. You might take up a new hobby, start volunteering, learn something new, or maybe you simply live in a way that honors your peace, and that matters. Because the way you live now sends a message to your children, your grandchildren, even your neighbors, that aging doesn't have to mean shrinking. It can mean expanding, deepening, choosing joy again and again. And that brings us to one of the most beautiful parts of living alone, rediscovering joy, the quiet kind, the kind that bubbles up in simple moments. Maybe it's the smell of something baking in the oven, the sound of your favorite old song playing softly in the background, or the feeling of fresh sheets in a clean home you made beautiful with your own two hands. There's something deeply satisfying about looking around and realizing, I built this peace, I chose this calm. That sense of pride and ownership fills you with gratitude, and gratitude, as it turns out, is one of the best medicines for both the body and the soul. You start smiling more, breathing deeper, worrying less, and sure, there are still challenges. Of course there are. Life doesn't stop testing us just because we've gotten older. But when you're grounded in yourself, when you've built a life that truly supports your health and your happiness, those challenges don't knock you down as easily. You handle them with wisdom, with grace, with the kind of strength that only comes from having lived. And you know something, you deserve to feel good. You deserve to wake up feeling proud of your space, your choices, and your path. You deserve to feel safe in your own home, to feel strong in your own decisions, to feel free to live a life that reflects who you really are, not just who you used to be, or who others wanted you to be. That's the gift of living alone after 65. It gives you the chance to start fresh, to make peace with your past, enjoy your present, and even get excited about your future. You're not done dreaming. You're not done growing. You're not done living. And if you're watching this today and you've been second-guessing yourself, wondering if you made the right choice, or if you can really thrive on your own, I hope you hear this clearly. You are doing better than you think. You are stronger than you know. And this chapter, it has the potential to be the most meaningful one yet. Keep choosing yourself. Keep making your space reflect the person you are becoming. Keep saying yes to the quiet joy that's waiting in your everyday life. You are not alone. You are living alone. And there's a big difference. So if this video resonated with you, if you found even a moment of comfort or encouragement, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What has living alone taught you? What have you discovered about yourself? Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you'd like more content like this, videos that support, inspire, and speak to real experiences after 60, go ahead and click that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more we'll explore together. Here's to your peace, your independence, and your beautiful, meaningful life on your terms. Take care of yourself. You've earned it.